So I recorded this entire video, and regrettably, I found out towards the very end that I had made a mistake. And so I'm going to go in there and I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to tell you what the mistake is, but it's going to be very obvious what it is. So enjoy the video. Hey y'all. Today I wanted to talk about Tetris. Now, Tetris, it's interesting because it's such an old game. Everybody knows it. Everybody's probably played it at some point. And it is one of the best-selling games of all time. Pretty crazy accomplishment. It's up there alongside Minecraft, you know, because human beings, I don't know what it is about us, but we just really love cubes. We really love squares. Now, I want to briefly talk about the history of Tetris. Now, a lot of the information that I got about this, you know, I got it from a Tetris wiki, but I also got it from watching a documentary on a YouTube channel. I would recommend it overall. It's called Gaming Historian, and he has a lot of popular videos about the history of Super Mario, but he also has a very good documentary based off of Tetris. Would recommend it. It goes through the history of Tetris, the legal battles to fight for the rights of Tetris, just a whole mess. He does a really good job. Would recommend it. But I'm just gonna talk about like a little bit of the things about the history. So Tetris was really made by a guy named Alexei Pazitnov. He's a Russian programmer. He works alongside the Soviet Academy of Sciences within Moscow. Now, Pazitnov liked puzzle games. There was this puzzle toy that kids would play. It was called Petrominos or Tetrominos, they're both very similar in name. And basically, Pazitnov had this idea like, okay, I'm gonna make a digital game. I'll base it off of this puzzle game and see where it goes. But, you know, we ran into some problems because with that game, if you find the solution to it, you know, the solution might be the same over time and it would be kind of boring. So he thought like, okay, let me make this game more dynamic. Instead of just having all the pieces and putting into a rectangle, let's have all the pieces fall into this, you know, rectangular receptacle. And, you know, the goal will be to fill it up as best as possible. And that's also where it gets the idea of like, okay, how about when you finish a line, that line will disappear. It became a very addictive game. And when he made it, he kind of distributed it a little bit. He didn't make any money off of it, but he was just kind of letting people play the game. I'm sure people were making copies of it, and then gradually over time, just everyone started playing it in Russia, and then it just made its way into Europe, and eventually it would make its way into America. Now you got to realize that this was during the time where Pazitnov was living in the Soviet Union, Soviet Russia, right? And in Soviet Russia, there are no intellectual property rights. So even though Pazitnov had the idea of Tetris and created it, you know, he didn't have any rights to the actual game itself. You know, Tetris, it belonged to the Soviet Union and not to Pazitnov, if you understand what I'm saying. So Pazitnov, he never really got a whole lot of credit for his work, at least at the beginning. Now, over time, the rights to Tetris would kind of go back and forth to different people. And this is where I would recommend where you watch the documentary, because there's a whole there's a whole mess of like who had the console rights, who had the handheld game rights, who had, you know, who had access to this game, who had the rights to sell it. Now, long story short, over time, Pazitnov, at the beginnings of the creation of Tetris, he didn't really make any money off of it. The Soviet, you know, the states, you know, they kind of made some money off of it. But over time, Pazitnov would meet this guy named Hank Rogers, who I believe was working alongside Nintendo a bit at that time. And Hank Rogers and Pazitnov, they became friends. And so Rogers helped Pazitnov to move into the US. And that's when Pazitnov moved to Seattle, Washington. And then eventually he would join Microsoft. But he also, Pazitnov and Rogers, they would make the Tetris company. And they would start to, that's when Pazitnov was really able to capitalize, you know, good old capitalism, right? He was able to, you know, make money off of his hard work, which I'm really happy for him, you know? I like a story with a good happy ending, you know? I like it when capitalism serves a person and allows them to make profit, right? Now that's kind of some of the history behind it. Now Tetris, it's interesting because, you know, I've played Tetris a little bit. It is a fun game. It is very addicting in its own way. But it is a very basic puzzle game, and everyone's already played it to a degree. There are like certain ways that Tetris has been made more interesting. For example, Nintendo has that option of Tetris 99 where you play it. Now, you know, the only thing that sucks about Tetris 99 is you're going to need an NSO subscription, which, you know, it is what it is, right? But there are free online versions of this game. The one that I'm playing is from, I believe it's called TetrisPlay.com. You can find it if you look up Tetris, it'll pop up. Would recommend it. It's a free game, free to play. There's also like an online version of it made for, from what I understand, it's free. It's online. It's called Tetrio. And Tetrio is also pretty fun because that's where there's a huge community that's tied around it. People play the game together. And I usually would play this with my girlfriend, my fiance, right? When we're apart for a bit, we're in different houses. And so we would play this on Discord over Discord. And it was a good time. And I'm hoping someday to play this game with my friends, have a little Tetrio match, play some Tetris together. Now, funnily enough, I'm not all that good at Tetris. I thought I was okay at it. I was playing through the game and, I was doing okay. And then, I handed the game off to my fiance. And then she started playing. I was like, oh my gosh, she is like 2 to 3 times better at Tetris than I am. And part of that is because when COVID had happened, this was her COVID game. Her father was playing some Tetris online, and Brianna, she saw it. She saw the game and she was like, oh, that looks interesting. So then she started playing it herself and she enjoyed it a lot too. And so it's really interesting because I think it plays into this, I guess you could say stereotype, because from what I understand, there's like a stereotype where, what genders play what types of games. So men, from what I understand, they'll play things like action games or shooters and all that kind of stuff, action adventure. And women, they tend to enjoy puzzle games more. So that kind of plays into the whole idea of why my fiance is so much better at Tetris than I am. But this game is really fun. Would recommend you try it out every now and then. There's free versions of it online, but you can find other versions of it as well for like consoles and stuff. An excellent time. Honestly, Tetris is the never-ending classic game. You could play it forever. You could enjoy it till the end of time, really, right? Just an overall excellent game. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Hope you all got something good out of this. Thank you for watching to the end. If you feel so inclined, would appreciate any subscriptions or likes or comments if you feel so inclined. But nonetheless, thank you for being here today. I will see you all later, and take care.